Hello everyone, welcome to Code with Me, and we are working on the Soundboard extension today. Hello everyone, welcome to Code with Me, and we are working on the Soundboard extension today. Hello everyone, welcome to... All right, cool. Sorry, had a little bit of an echo there. Cool. So we're continuing where we left off. This is a Soundboard extension. An extension is just sort of plugin for Omniverse, and all of the Omniverse apps are built with a ton of these extensions combined in order to build them up into an app. So this is just one piece of the puzzle, and this is what we did last week. We just laid out a bunch of buttons. We loaded sounds from a configuration file, and we load the sounds, and we can play them by clicking on the buttons. So all of that is good. To Code with Me, and hey, Funky Boy, welcome. Let me know if you're here. So today we're focusing on user configuration, user settings. Last week I had set these window sizes to these button sizes to 300, and I want that to be configurable. So let's take a look at the code. So here we are, and here's the button width, which is coming from these settings. And where was I getting the settings? Hey, Ivan, welcome. Okay, so I'm getting the button width there. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to be persisting. I'm going to let users edit these settings, and then I want to persist this. So if I restart the app, I save the button width that the user's chosen, and then when I start up the app, if there's a setting from the user that was saved out, I will use it. Otherwise, I'll fall back to the values from the default values that I'm providing. And so a pattern that a lot of extensions use, which is good, is they define some settings in their TOML. So the default values, they define them here, and that makes it more discoverable for other developers. They can, if they're interested in your extension, they can open up the TOML, and they'll find this settings section where you've defined some settings that they might be able to leverage from within their extension if they want to manipulate your extension from theirs. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to set that back to the default to 200. I think that was a good starting point. And I think on shutdown, I want to save these out. I may even want to do it more often, but let's take a look. I'm debating whether I want to put it into the config manager or have that managed separately. I guess I'll do it separate. So there's a pattern that other extensions use as well, as some sort of class that kind of takes care of, wraps the settings, the carb settings, and does a little bit of special handling on top of the general settings API. Hey Gavin, welcome. So here we go. I'm not sure if I want to do this. I'm also just thinking maybe I just like, and this one can also be I can use class methods for all of these because I don't need to instantiate this. All right, well, let's see how it goes. So I'm going to do a class method for saving my settings. And so I'm thinking I'll have just a list of keys that I'll be interested in. So for example, this one will be the first one. And when I save the settings, what I will do, I feel like I'm jumping ahead here. I should probably show. So we showed this working, right? I set the default, I changed the value here. I restarted the app because this only gets read on app startup, and the button size changed. And I can even use the API to change this dynamically. So import carb settings. Settings is equal to carb settings.get settings. Hey Tim, good morning. And sorry, this is wrong. I need to do this on the next line. Print settings.get. And I'm blanking on this API right now. I guess this will give me the value immediately. And it's as an object, you can, so I think it'll provide the appropriate type based off of what gets encoded. But you can also do get as. So I'll do get, and we'll just check the type while we're exploring here. So what does that look like? Printed 300, right? And then if we print the type of that, is it figuring out? Yeah, it's casting it to, it's returning an int type because it knows that it's an integer. So that's cool. So let's leave that there for a moment. I wanted to show where we're headed here. So if I change this value now, should probably do this on the line below. All right. Settings.set If I change this value to 200, looks like it accepted it. It is now 200, but these aren't updating. So we do need to have this respond to those settings changes. So that's part of what we'll be doing today as well. And if we look at that API, there is you can subscribe to changes, so you can get an event call. You can provide a callback, so that you can react to changes to any settings. So I'll hold that off for a moment, and I'll show what that looks like. This build window. So if we subscribe here to setting changes, yes, we do have a sort of cascading style sheets, CSS in Kit, so you can provide a style to widgets, and they will you can apply them to, say, all types of all widgets of a certain type, or all the things that you'd expect from that you might have seen in HTML and CSS. We will get to that. I think that might be next week. So let's subscribe. I think that'll be a cool thing to test out here. And I want to make sure that I'm doing this right, so I'm just going to look for somebody else using this. Oh, that's a lot. What is this extension? Curve manipulator sounds good to me. So you give it the path of the setting you want to listen to, and then you give it a callback. So we'll do that. Obviously, I'm not gonna, I need to change this so that I'm not repeating the string all over the place. And then def on settings changed. Does this have some sort of where are you defined? There we go. The item that was changed, and the event type is the other argument, but it doesn't look like they're using that, and I don't think I'll need it either. Okay. And so then I can just say self.rebuild. No, what is this thing called? Self.frame.rebuild. Okay, so if I did this correctly, it's going to, as soon as the window is created, it's going to subscribe to this setting. When I change that setting, it'll call this function, rebuild the whole frame, and I'll get the new button width that way. So we'll do that, and I need to unsubscribe. So is there something like event triggers or states so we can change color of UI elements on mouse over or active? Yeah. So this Omni UI documentation has these selectors. So we do have on hover, on what else do we have on click? I don't remember what they were right now. Pressed. So we do have these state selectors, and with the next version of code, we will publish the this will be updated to provide a lot more information about styling. So yep, totally possible. Cool. Thank you for the questions. Questions are totally cool as long as we're on topic, which is we are building this UI now, so all good. Where are they unsubscribing? They're just setting it to none, right? So this is my favorite type of subscription. We just set it to none and it destroys the subscription. So here's mine. I'm not catching the subscription. So let's make sure that we do. And then on destroy, we'll set that to none. And in here, we are destroying. Good. So now, let's see what happened over here. So in theory, this should have reset, and these did get smaller. So now if I change this value to 300 again, no, it didn't work. Let's make sure that I did this correctly here. So this is listening to this path, which is similar to my path. So is my callback getting called? Blah, 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 blah. No change events, button width. I'm storing that sub. Debug. Okay. And I should save this to start it back up. So here we are. If I change this value now, yeah, totally not getting called. So I'm missing the front slash. That might be it. And I want to check out while we're here, I want to check out this tool and see what their config looks like. Make sure I got that correct here. Yeah, I think this is fine. So let's put a forward slash on that. I don't know if that'll do it, but let's try it. Whoa, this got wacky. Okay, so let's save this to get that going again. And nope. Well, I'll need to debug that more. For now, let's press on and let's make sure that we get the persistent settings and the fallback settings going. Just want to take one more look at this before we move on. I don't remember where I was. Disconnect that. Yeah, the only other thing that I would try is maybe I have I'm misunderstanding the difference between a settings node and a settings tree. No, that didn't fire. All right. We'll look at this later. We can keep all that stuff because I think that's useful. All right, so back to that settings manager. So we have this notion of a setting. These are the interactive ones that we can change at runtime, theoretically. And then persistent ones, the only difference is that you add persistent in the front. So I'm just gonna call that persistent. Did I spell that correctly? Probably not. All right. Hey Kyle, welcome. You just missed a failed debugging session, so you saved yourself from that. So now what I basically want to do is for key and keys in class.keys. Yeah, less anxiety. This thing now is going to go I think I will instance this. Self. When I initialize this, I want to store settings. I'm using sort imports now. Bam, look at that. And for each of these, I just want to do a value is equal to self dot settings dot get the key, and then self dot settings dot set the persistent one. So persistent plus key. And we're going to set the value. Okay, so we're just on save settings, we're just transferring these non-persistent settings into a persistent setting. So now I just need to do a little refactor here. I think this is the only place where I'm using this. So and then I'm going to have potentially lots of different keys that I need to be able to get with like a constant variable name. So let's see. I'm debating whether to put these in a class, and then I could just get all the class variables, or to just list them out as traditional constant variables. Constants.py. Yeah, let's do setting keys. Okay, so we're not going to do kind of making this up as I go. I know I said I was gonna, I have a better plan this time, but as I get into it, I get a little inspired here. Config. Okay, so settings keys. So that would be my first one. And then there's a way to loop through all of these and get the variable names, which I'm just going to Google at this point. Is it this one? Yeah. Get all class variables. Let's say list. So basically I've used this in the past to yeah, this is the idea. I've used this in the past to make an enum class before Python 3 when they didn't exist in Python. And so that's what I'm doing here. Class method. Or this could just be a static method. No, class method. Okay. And then I can come over here and say, what the heck is this example? I think this is supposed to be class. Okay, so what this is saying is a really nasty looking list comprehension, but for every adder on this class, this lists all of the member, what would you call this? All the attributes of the class. If it's not callable, meaning it's not a function, and it doesn't start with a double underscore because there are some reserved variables here, then we're going to list those as, we'll list these as keys. Okay, and actually we just return them. So let's take a look at what I mean here. I know for some folks this is Python's new for you, so when I get into this Python hackery. So this is the settings object. And you can see here that it has every Python object is going to have these some subset of these double underscore functions or variables. And so we want to omit those. And then we also want to omit any functions that my get keys function that I defined. So that would leave us with just the variables. I need to fix my destruction. All of a sudden I'm getting this overlaying window. Okay, so I think we're good there. So now in theory, if I save that, I can get rid of this now. For now, it'll probably come back in the future. From config, setting keys. I almost feel like setting should be plural, but we'll leave it at that for now. So now I can do setting keys dot button width wherever I need to use that. So once I bring this back, I will also be using it there. And all right, I'm kind of liking this design because then I could do like a persistent version of that and it'll automatically add the persistent as well. So then in here, I don't even need this anymore. What I can do is just, and maybe I can collapse this back into one class, I don't know. But I can then do setting keys dot get keys. Okay, and if I did this correctly, I'll print this out at the start of the window. So there you go. It's just a list with just button width in it. So, oh, that's the that's a string. So I need to get the attribute. No, that's fine. So this would give me the list of variables. So I actually need to fix this. That would give me the attribute names. So that would give me the keys. What do we call this? I feel like I should be doing get adder here. Okay, so what that will do now is on startup here, Soundboard object doesn't have a settings. Thought I got rid of that. Line 24. Yep. This should be settings manager. So instantiate that. And then that seems fine. Then I need to come back over to the config and I need to define that. And what I'm going to do is I'll come back and fix this, but I want to check to see if there's a persistent one first, and then no, that's a lie. I need to sort that out in the future. Get key. Cool. Come back over here. Don't know what happened here. Save this window. So ever since getter expected at least 2 arguments, got 1. Almost there. This thing wants a class and an attribute, so that would be that and that. There we go. Where's the output? Well, I don't know why it's not printing out anymore. But at least we've fixed this. Now, back at my window, I told you to print settings.getKeys. So what did I mess up here? Oh, I see. This list comprehension is nuts. So I do need adder here because that's getting passed into these. And I'm going to take the easy way out. And do another list comprehension here. Okay. I'm sure I can combine those, but my brain is not going to figure that out right now. So here we go. So now it's fixed. It's going to return these strings back at me, which is what I want. All right. So that is fixed. And this is doing the right thing. So then on init, I think I also want to load settings. So here we're going to do the opposite. Is if setting exists in the persistent, then we will copy it over into the non-persistent. Otherwise, we'll use the default. What I'm wondering is, what do I get back if I get something that doesn't exist? So let's test that out really quick. None. Okay. So back over here. For key in settings, setting keys.getKeys. if we'll get the value of the persistent first. And if value is not none, then I want to do is not none here, because what if it's a Boolean setting and it returns false or 0? Then that would be the same as I would be perceived as the same if I did if not value and I got a 0 or a false, then I would get behavior that I wasn't expecting here. So that's why I'm explicitly checking for none here. And self.settings set the non-persistent with that value. Okay, so as soon as I initialize this thing, I want to do that. And then over here, everything is good. Okay, and then I only do that as soon as I initialize. After that, those settings might change. When I go to get it, I might get the interactive, the live value, which is what I want. And then when I shut down, or at some point where I feel like the user is saying explicitly saying, "Hey, go ahead and save these settings," then I will write those out to persistent again. So here we go. So it's a good way to demo this. So the default right now is 300. So if I set this to 200, and I'm going to pull up my settings just so that I can show you all where that is. Give me a moment while I pull this up from off screen. App data, local, OV, okay. So every app has a user config, and I'm gonna just open this so that I have this available. And button width is not in there right now. So so that's as expected. And what I should do here is on shutdown, on destroy, where should I do this? I guess we'll just do it here on right after start, or right after I finish building. Basically, we make sure that gets built at least once with the other setting. Hopefully I do this right to simulate this. And now I need a set function, don't I? This is, I don't know how I feel about the wrapping of this, but that's okay. Key and value. Key and value. Cool. Save that. Set. What is it using right now? It's using 200, so I'll switch this to 100. We save that And now if I print this value, it should be 100 because I just changed it at the end of building it. And now if I save this file again to reload it, now it's at 100. It looks super weird, but that's the right behavior. All right, so I think we got that working. Ever since I added this thing though, it's not destroying itself correctly, so let's stop doing that for now. And let's go back to 200. So now when I save this, it'll rebuild again with 100. But then the next time that I launch this, save again, now it's 200. Cool. And I was hoping we can do the subscription because that thing will be cool to maybe attach it to a slider and see these scale live. But I don't know if I'll be able to figure that out. Let's take a look at just one more example to see if I'm doing anything weird here. It looks like what I was doing. So I'll figure that out for later. Figure that out offline so y'all don't see me tinkering with something fairly boring. Okay, and then the next thing we can do is we can see here that it should have should have saved. It's not going to write that out until I close the app. So let's go ahead and close the app. It'll write it out as 200, which is good, because that means that the next time that it launches the app, it will be at 200 instead of the default 300. It's loading. Yeah, I missed this question from Funky Boy way earlier, but yes, the buttons were set up with a for loop, and I can change. I will be able to change the color. So my plan is that in the config that I created for each of these. Yeah, let me do this and I'll get back to that. Sound. There you go. So it reopened at 200. So now theoretically, if I open up that config again, I should find EXTs. So I would have expected my setting here. And I did the right thing, right? Because my toml is set to, oh no, my toml is set to 300. Dang it. Or to 200. So that's not working. Let's take a quick look here. Did I save the settings? I did, right? I didn't save the settings. I called this thing to change it, but I didn't save it. Right. Okay, so I'm not loading from the persistent setting yet. I'll just do it here. Okay. Just do this a couple of times just to make sure that we got that going. And now, yes, it's in there. There it is. We got it in. Okay, so this is a lot to look at, but there is this EXTS section, and this is just a JSON file, and each of those forward slashes is just a dictionary inside of a dictionary. So that worked. So we have persistent, EXTS, and mine is way down here, the last one. Okay, so now I'll spare you guys. Well, I should do it. I'm going to restart the app, and instead of the 300 from here, it should use the 200 from the config. All right, so Funky Boy, yeah, so based off of the design that I have, I want to be able to store in the config, the JSON file that I have to the side, separate from settings. For every sound, I'm going to associate a color. And so when I create those buttons, I will also grab from the config the color that is written out. And I'll use that for each button. So it's a little weird, different from most extensions, that I'm doing a UI setting in the carb settings, but then this is also a UI setting, and I'm putting it in this separate JSON file. And the reason that I went that way is because I didn't want to have a lot of settings in here. Like if I had 100 sounds on my soundboard, I don't want them listed like this. This is annoying to me that we have this for this setting here. This is one setting. This is color for the viewport, and it makes it really hard to, like, this is meant to be human readable, and it's having a lot of stuff like that in there makes it a bit tough. So that was my reasoning. But yes, we are going to have separate colors for the buttons. No problem. Cool. So this launched. Fingers crossed. Here we go. $200. Sweet. This time I did it right. This one was still at 300. So we're reading from the user config, from the user settings. I do need to put the actual saving of settings somewhere more useful. But we're in good shape here. Like, I'm wondering, should this thing instantiate it, or should the extension instantiate it? So then at the on shutdown, I could just do save settings. Yeah, we could do that. Why did it drop the import at the top? Oops. Okay. We're passing that through. Then we come over here and we catch it. And we get it here. Okay. Next up, I need to write out the user config. So I should allow a user to provide their own sounds, and those need to be written out. And then when I load the config, I want to combine the default config with the user config. And here's the user config. I'm going to grab the data, save it onto that, and then resolve and update. So I'm not using this function yet. But we can do that. I don't think I need... What was my design here? I said I was going to provide a file path. Okay. So for the file path, we're going to come over here. We're going to look at PyKit. This is my shortcut for this web page here. Tokens. And we have lots of different variables for places, paths where you could save things out. Remind you to ask a question at the end. You could ask it now. But I'm going to put this in data. This is store persistent data. So this config is kind of like the settings, right? And those are actually stored in local OV data. So that's where I want to put mine. I could also put it into shared documents. So the thing that I do want to do is I don't want to have this be a per app configuration. So I want this to be, I write it out once, and I can use, if they load my extension from any app, they'll be able to get all of their custom sounds in any app. So for that, I could put it in shared documents, which is shared between all apps. And it stores users' data. Or I could put it into Omni data, which is stores persistent data Omniverse wide as well, so shared between apps. And I think I'm going to go for Omni data. Let's find out where that is, first of all. So you take that, or I'll just take this. And you take, so you can create a path with those variables, and then you come in here and you need to use this API in order to resolve it. It'll tell you where that is on the system, because it might be a Windows system, or it could be Linux, or maybe in the future it could be Apple, who knows. And if we print, oops, I messed that up. Print path. Okay, so it's the same thing, only that it is, if I would have done just data, you would see that it goes into a deeper path in there. So it goes into data kits. So I'm going to put mine in there, but let me check to see where I want to put that. I'll put it in a folder called exts and then the name of my extension. This is probably breaking the pattern that everybody uses here, but I think it's going to be okay. So I'll put it here, and we're going to do Omni data. And let's go back to the code. So I think the reason I'm passing in a file path is maybe I want the config manager not to know anything about the path. It just knows that there's a user config. It doesn't know where that is. So potentially I could reuse this class for a different. That way I'm not hard coding the extension path in this, if that makes sense. Data omni data /exts /omni, what did I call this? Metacodes soundboard. Okay. And then the config, I should just make this a path object. I'm always torn about this. Constants are supposed to be constants, right? But a path object is not. Yeah, but it's just so much easier to work with if I make it a path object. From pathlib import path. And Python doesn't care, right? It lets me do this kind of stuff, so that's my argument. User config, maybe. Okay. Then we come on back over here. This is going to be a path object. Cool. And then I'm going to say if file path does not exist, we're going to create it. I think that's a OS function, but let me double check. Python make dirs. OS make dirs, yep. Exists, okay, is going to be true. So I'm going to make the parent. And if it exists, that's okay, don't throw an error. And then I need to import this. Quick fix, import OS. And then I'm going to I guess I don't need to do anything. It's already an empty dictionary there. And I don't need to update it, so I'll just return. And hopefully when I save this config, it'll, yeah, I'll make sure to create it if it doesn't exist at that point. Okay, so then I do need to save this user config. I need a way to save this. Class method. So the question is, should you use the shared data to, or any of these locations to save USD data? Yeah, I don't think we have any hard rules on this at the moment, but if it makes sense for you to store it in these locations, I would. It's I brought this up last week, is that it's not a good idea to save user settings or user data in the extension folder, because then when you update to a new version of that extension, now you've lost that connection to the data that was stored with the extension. It's stored in that old one and not in the new versioned one. So for data that is generated by the user or from user input, you do want to store it into, say, Omnidata or any of these data directories, so that then your extension can retrieve it, even if it's a future version that after they've upgraded to a new version of your extension, there's still a common place where that's accessed. And also, yeah, I suppose, I don't know if there's any example of user data that is shared between extensions, but I suppose that would be fine too. I was talking more about shared in the sense of, I load my extension in two different apps. I don't want to have to say I set up my soundboard and create, and I love it. I have all my sounds in there. I don't want to go into the View app and then I have to reload all my sounds because now I want to use it in there. So that's what I meant by shared. But I suppose you could also have two extensions working with the same data, and you would probably want that shared data would still be appropriate, right? Maybe it's specific to one application, but both extensions could access that same place. The other thing that you want to keep in mind also is this cache one. So this is data that is cleaned up between runs. So if you just need to write some temp file out, and there's also temp as well. But yeah, if you just need to write some temporary data, you got to get it out of system memory for a bit. You can put it into temp or cache, read from it when you need to, but you know that when the application is shut down, that will automatically be cleaned up for you. So hope that helps. Class. And then I need to pass in this file path again, right? That's the unfortunate part of this decision that I made here, but yeah, no problem. Okay, so I have my user config done. And now I need to just write that out to a JSON file. So I have that over here, right? It's this code here. And I'm thinking what did I do here? I think I have an error here. If I'm using this API, I need to cast it to a string, unfortunately. So that's what I'm going to do. Whoops. And this needs to go up there. Carb tokens. Nope. All right. I'm going to put this into the config manager so that it will resolve these things on its own. Here. There. And this one's good to go. And then where's my config.py? This needs to move up. And then this thing will return. Resolve path. Cool. So that's resolved now. I can no longer do this, which is unfortunate. So I don't even remember how to do this with the OS module. OS path, get parent directory. OS path dir name. Okay, so same thing as the path live parent. This is just going to give me the path to the parent directory path. And then when we come over to save this, I need to do the same business. Come over here. At this point, I know the directory exists because I checked it on the load. So now all I need to do is class.userconfig. I need to open that file path and write to it. And that's the file path. Okay, yeah, cool. Okay, so we come back over here. And we'll just test this out in here. We'll do self dot where there's where I'm loading the user config. So I can do config manager dot save user config. and the same file path. User config path is equal to that. So that's going to be datadir / user config. And we can use that here. And we can use that there. So I'll save that. And if I did that correctly now, this should have already written out here. It did not. So let's take a quick look at what happened here. I loaded the, maybe should write out an empty one, but I intend to do config manager dot, and maybe I'll write an API for this, not sure yet, but foo is equal to bar. So let's make sure we are in here. I come into here, I want to go in there. I'm not getting any errors. Not anymore, at least. That was at... Let's reset this one more time. And I need to run the debug. Oh, it looks like I did get an error. Setting man. At line 26 on the shutdown. There we go. Yeah, this is going to be stale. But that should be okay. I am debugging. Oh, I see. My window, well, that should have worked. I was thinking maybe my window creation isn't getting called, but it is. I'm going to relaunch just to sort out that stale issue that I had with the shutdown bug that I had and that I introduced. So far, so good. I'm kind of pleased with this. This is going to be cool as I add more settings. I like that pattern. I need to figure out how to make this into one list comprehension. I still have a bug. What's going on? Missing one positional argument on line 39. Weird. That looks right to me. Will you let me debug you now? There we go. Okay, so this is a Windows path. That's good. And then oh, this was supposed to be a class method. But I suppose that should have worked, but that errored out. Okay, so now let's try again. Step into, step out, step over. File path is now this thing, which is correct. Beautiful. Is it gonna make it? I don't know what I did. String has no attribute exists. I have a lot of issues here. This is no longer a path object, so I need to do os path dot exists and then give it the file path. Also, I forgot that the path library does have a make dirs as well, but can't use that anymore. Okay, so let's just keep going. Is it happy? It's no. It's oh, I didn't save. There we go. Resume. There's another, this one. Okay, so we're in those now. And this launched. And these errors are no longer relevant. And we can come in here. And there's our EXTS soundboard and the user config. If I open this one, there's my foo bar. All right. Oh, we did it. So what this means now is that I can have the user provide sound files. I'm going to have a drag and drop functionality here where they'll be able to drag a sound file. I'll accept it, add it to the UI, and I'm also going to copy the file to that data directory and put it in this config for the next time. So we are on our way. I think this calls for a woohoo and an oh yeah. Okay. Cool. So we got that. I'm gonna close this config before I confuse myself. I guess I can't confuse myself. They're named differently. Get rid of these. And now let's do the drag and drop, I think. I think it's time. I think it's time. 30 minutes. I think we can do it. I know it doesn't look like much, but like we have all of this structure in place now for both the user config and the carb settings. So Kit has this external drag and drop. I don't know where this is coming from. This extension here. And we're going to use that. I feel like we need to do some, I could keep going down this settings path, but I feel like we need some interesting UI stuff now. OmniKit, probably there. I think we can add this to our toml here. Right? Got to be on top of our dependencies. And how is this used? Nope, I don't want to see the implementation. I want to see how it's used in here. So you give it the window name where this is going to go. Yes, so you can drop anywhere on the window. And then the function that should be called when this happens. Okay. So here's my window. I don't remember if this is the window where I want it to go in. Or the window that it's creating has the drag and drop location. We'll figure that out in a moment. Quick fix from typing import list. Let me just see if there was something else here. Well, let's try it and we'll adjust. Because currently oops, yeah, let's use this one. Currently you cut with me. Currently I can't, well, it accepted it, but I think it dropped it into like the viewport or something. It's like falling into the background window. Let's take a look. This one, like I can drag it into here and it'll add it as the sound to that, which is not what I want. So instead, we're going to update this now to accept drag and drop. The window name is going to be this, but I can do self.title because this is a window object, so it should have that title. And let's see what happens. Should be refreshed. Yeah, that'll be cool. And here are my sounds. All right, we got some errors because I just copied code from random place and expected it to work. This business, that doesn't exist. Let's just print EDD, print paths. Print payload. I just want to see what's in here. Not that one. Try to get a clean one here. All right. Nothing. Well, somehow I broke it. Let's check if that's getting called. That. That's going. I can drag anything in there. It doesn't have to be a sound. But it's no longer getting called. Pretty sure that doesn't need to be in there anymore. Just making the whole window draggable. Or a drop area. Let's retry. Sound. That's not related to me. People are blowing up my Slack right now. So that dropped into the background. I'm still having issues. Is it that I'm mistaken on what self.title is? That's really the only thing that could break this, I think, is if I am not applying the drag and drop correctly anymore. I'm not debugging anymore. There we go. Save. So title is Soundboard, but self title is also Soundboard. So then continue. All right, let's go back. I don't understand how I broke this. Yeah. Oh, is that? No. Let's try this again. So weird. I do have multiple windows there though. I wonder if that was clashing. All right. I'm just not seeing it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fool around with this a bit and see if I can get that settings to figure out to sort out. Because I don't think I'm gonna make progress on the drag and drop. Kyle, if you're still around, you can ask your question. Import carb settings. Settings equal to carb. Settings, get settings. And then we're going to subscribe to this thing. What was the variable here? Item and event type. Attach the subscription. Get. Okay. So we'll run that. Run that. Value is at 200. Yeah, that doesn't return anything. But it's at 150 now. Oh, there we go. Now it's firing. Okay, I think I misunderstood what that meant. What the node. Oh, I'm doing tree changed. Was I always doing this? Is that what I did wrong the whole time? Okay. Kyle, well, go ahead and ask your question. I'll sort this out afterwards. Best way to search all the things you can do with USD Library. That is a good question. Okay, let me break that down as best as I can. So yeah. It's not easy. Basically we come in here, and we can identify, if you imported some module, you could identify all the classes that exist in that module from the C++ API. You could also do it from just IntelliSense from Pixar import USDGeom, USDGeom dot, and then you can see all the things that are in there. You're not going to get documentation doc strings on this, unfortunately, yet. That's something that I'd like for us to provide is yeah, I figured out how to sort the latency, but I forgot to do it today. So there's a significant delay today. So that would be one way, at least to list all the classes. But I think the best thing is the C++ documentation currently. So you can see all the classes that exist within a module and read up on any of those from in here. So if I click on a class, I can find out the inheritance diagram for that. I can click on more there and it'll hopefully give me a more detailed description of what this class is and all of the member functions and that belong to it. So That would be the easiest. We have some USD Omniverse. In the USD portal on the Omniverse documentation, there is also USD Python API, and this gives you a breakdown of like what is this in C++? What is it in Python land? So this is a helpful thing to read to understand the differences in the C++ and Python API and how to reconcile them. So I'll post that there. And really that's why I've been so focused on these Python snippets is I feel like people have questions of how do I do this thing? I want to create a camera. And it's not totally intuitive to be searching through API to figure out how to do that. So I thought, start with what people are wanting to do, and then that'll expose you to the API that does it. And then from there, you can read the C++ API to learn more about it. And hopefully one day we'll have the Python API docs to smooth that over for non-C++ users. So yeah, it's not a great answer, but that's just what we have right now, and it's getting better all the time. So hopefully we'll get there quickly. All right, so I figured out, I can't believe, I don't know if I changed this midstream or if I had done this the whole time, but that should be node change. So now when I do button width and I change this to 250, now it fires. So why were 3 given here? I don't know. So I kind of need to sort that out. Or maybe that was an old error. That might have been pretty recent. Or actually the old one's firing twice. All right, let's see if I can pull this off before we finish. So node change events, tree change event would be changes anywhere below a certain level in the config. I wanted node change event because I was listening for this particular variable in the extension dictionary that I created. Cool, we can leave all of that as is. And then I want to programmatically change it from the script editor. And when I do, I want it to rebuild. Okay. No issues. So I think it created it at 250. So if I change this, I don't know if that fired at all. Let's put a break there and start debugging. And this is going to get all sorts of nasty because I'm not cleaning this up correctly. Okay, so now I'm hitting that. No, that's that one. All right, I do need to restart because I made a mess of all of this. I'm going to copy this into my clipboard though before I do that. And Restart. Okay. I do have an error now. That's different. Attribute settings. Okay, so I needed to do where's the settings man? Setting man. Config, it's storing it as settings. Okay. That's why that wasn't firing. On setting changed. Man, I had all sorts of, I don't know where it was eating all of these errors before. It could be this extension that I have loaded. Nope, that's off. VS Code. Anyways, I don't need to do that right now. Sound. There we go. Yeah, it's working. Cool. 5 minutes. I wanna test this out. Where are we? UI. Well, let's just put it in here. UI dot. It's supposed to be. I've been storing an int, but it should really be a float. Float drag. Dot model dot. Subscribe to the item changed function. Oh, it's an item. That's interesting. Let's do this one. And I just need a function to call slider changed. And then Model is equal to that. Nope. I need to simple float model. I want to set a min and a max and all that. So the default value is 0, min and max. Default value will be 200. Model.min is equal to 50, model.max. And I'm sure I could do those as keyword arguments, but I don't want to take my chances right now because we only have 3 minutes left. See ya, Julius. Okay. This is either going to work or it's going to fail spectacularly. There's my slider. Ah. It's right on top of the button. Bummer. How did that happen? I put it in a V grid. UI VStack. We will put all of this in there. And then we'll put all of that within that. There we go. I think I'm missing something here. This needs the same mins and maxes. That's probably where I should have put it, actually. Min is equal to 50. Max is equal to 400. Step is equal to 1. And I don't need these, but I do need that default. No, yeah, see, that's my window not getting cleaned up. So it's close. I didn't debug here. The value. Oh, I'm dumb. That's going to be a value model. So model dot as float is what I want. Okay. Save. And continue. Let's just break there. I think I know what I'm doing now. Oh, it's close. I don't know what's causing it to pop back. I wonder if it's because all right, I think I'll leave it there, but we're close. Something is triggering with the old value after I've changed the value there, because you can see the UI is rebuilding. The slider doesn't want to. The slider is getting reset to 200 somehow. So pretty cool. Oh, it's because of the rebuild. Got it. Got it. Here we go. I can do this. Where is it? This one. This just needs to be a get here. And this one we remove. Oops. Yeah, the only problem is that this is within the same frame, so it's rebuilding the frame and I'm losing my drag. So I have the right idea. I just need this to be outside of the frame. So this will be in a separate window. So I'm thinking of having like a pop-up window that will open up, and then I can tweak the settings and we'll see this window responding to the settings live. But that should work. Cool. Declare victory here. Where are you? Oh no, that's the wrong one. There we go. All right, I leveled up. Cool. Well, thank you for joining. Thank you for sticking with it. Next week we will be continuing with this, and hopefully we'll get into styling next week. So that should be fun. And yeah, join me. We've got a live stream this Wednesday. I think it's on Replicator. Learn with me tomorrow with Ashley on Discord. Replicator on Wednesday also tomorrow. And office hour on Friday. So if you haven't joined the ad event or haven't bookmarked this yet, highly recommend that you do. And hit me up on Discord or the forums if you have any questions. And look forward to continuing this project with you all next week. See you.